Okay, welcome to this Buddhism paper for GCE Alevel video. We're going to look at a sample question. This isn't one in any of the sample assessment materials. It's one I've written, and it's probably too large, but for that reason, we'll cover a lot of ground. The question is: explore the nature and role of the Buddha with reference to Buddhist teachings, the Sangha and Nibbana. I think you might just get one of those. Explore the nature and role of the Buddha with reference to the Buddhist teachings, or the Sangha, or Nibbana. It's unlikely you'll get all three. But nevertheless, let's have a go at thinking about what it would sound like. Really, this is probably 3 8-mark questions, but it's a good practice anyway. So here's the overview of what the assessment criteria would say then you would need to do. And this, in the top bit, is the specific indicative content you would include. And I've put in there the typical things. If you were exploring the teaching, well, all the Buddhist teaching that you need to refer to, setting and wheel the motion, the wheel of law, as the first sermon in the Deer Park, the general Buddhist teaching that it includes in terms of the Four Noble Truths, the fires that need to be put out, ignorance, desire, hatred, greed, etc., the middle way, the Eightfold Path. If it was the question about the, say it's the Sangha, and you might begin with the first members of the Sangha, the 5 ascetics, beginning with Konanda, and how they are the first to join the fourfold Sangha as monks, as male monks, but that there was it's a fourfold Sangha. It very quickly had an order of women monks, and you'd refer to the Buddha's mother-in-law, who encouraged him to start a female monastic movement. And then we begin to look at the nature of the religious and caste background, perhaps the people who joined the Sangha, the range of people who joined from across the castes, from both Brahmins and the Shamrama movement. You might then begin to talk about significant Vijnana rules as they would be written down, but as they were recited week by week by the monks and nuns, and the growing nature of the Sangha, but that it was a minority movement in the predominantly Hindu society, and the importance of the Sangha both for the young emergent religion and the necessary need for a permanent Sangha, perhaps, during the rainy season, and the cause of the permanent Sangha in connection with the sort of geography and the monsoon season. All of those sort of things. You then might have been asked to talk about the nature of Nibbana, the death of the Buddha, Pari-Nibbana, and differences in Theravada and Mahayana Buddhism, particularly the bodhicitta, compassion. The purpose of Dharma, you'd have to talk about each of the above. What's the significance of it? Well, the significance of Dharma in terms of being enlightened, the significance of the Sangha in terms of the purpose of escaping samsara, if you're of equality, of demonstrating equality, and the purpose of the death of the Buddha, of demonstrating how different Buddhists understand enlightenment in Theravada, the Theravada ideal of Nibbana without remainder, the end of karmic debt and karmic seeds, or the Mahayana bodhicitta idea of the Bodhisattva ideal that you become a compassionate sort of cosmic being that helps others. So a wide range of knowledge, specialist language and terminology are carefully selected and used. This is level 3, appropriately, accurately, and with sustained thought throughout. Knowledge and understanding addressed to a broad range of key religious ideas and beliefs. Comprehensively develops key religious ideas, beliefs, and shows a depth of understanding. So any one of these following could be an 8-mark question, but I've done 3. I've done a over-the-top question. Here we go. Sample answer 1. The Tripitaka or the Pali Canon in Sutta Pitaka says, anyone who sees me sees the Dharma, anyone who sees the Dharma sees me. Got a quote in, good stuff. Meaning the Buddha and his teachings are inseparable. The Buddha's first teaching was at the Deer Park in Sarnath and is referred to as turning the wheel of Dharma. Again, good language. There are several versions of this sermon, critical thought, included in the Tripitaka, each with some differences, but which include common teaching on the Four Noble Truths, the fires that need to be put out, ignorance, desire, hatred, and greed, the middle way between austerities and self-indulgence, and the Eightfold Path. Good. The Pali Canon includes some of the many sermons of the Buddha which are included referenced parables from his previous lives called the Jataka Tales. Right, very good, but we need to talk about the significance of the Buddha's teaching. Kush argues the significance of the Buddha's teaching is that he would adopt his teaching to his hearers. Harvey gives the specific example of setting, the example of helping sick monk to create the Vijnana or monastic rules. And lots of dialogue, like his fire sermon where he used Brahman's own ideas of sacred flames, suggest that all the world was on fire as an analogy to the many cankers or attitudes like greed and jealousy that stop us from being enlightened. The nature of his teaching is as a natural law, that while he discovered it is truth open to anyone to discover and become an awakened one or Buddha. If not, we would become an Aryat, someone who learnt from an awakened one or Buddha. Sample answer continued, or perhaps maybe better, this would be just an 8-mark answer on the Sangha. Konanda was the first to become an Arat in the Theravada ideal, and the other 5 ascetics with him, or 4 basically, made the beginning of the Sangha. The order of nuns, also included in the Sangha, reflected the fourfold order, which reflects the purpose of Sangha to demonstrate the practical equality across genders. Further, the Buddha called into Sangha the followers from various religious and caste backgrounds, including the Shamrama, Ashkavar, the Jains, and those who were Brahmins. Significant developments often happened on an ad hoc basis long before the Vijnana rules for monks and nuns was written in the Tripitaka. Harvey notes that the Buddha instituted weekly meetings to recite rules after a monk on request broke his monastic sila or vows, ethics, returning to his wife to bear her a son, i.e. having sex. The Buddha himself demonstrated problems and solutions in the stories in the Sangha during the Buddha's lifetime. The significance of the early developments is their continued influence today. Those who can continued. Let's replace that spell. Continued today. Those who learn from the teaching of the Buddha are in Theravada called Arahants. Theravada, or followers in the Bodhisattva path, Mahayana. They're committed to taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, which demonstrates an individual's reliance on these 3 principles and the potential to achieve enlightenment. This is called Buddha nature. The Buddha advised his followers to take refuge unto themselves, as taking refuge dependence on anything else is unsatisfactory. Going for refuge gives Buddhists direction, purpose, and meaning in life. It offers them a goal, ultimate happiness, and a practical way of achieving it with the inner strength necessary. Buddhists can take refuge in 2 ways: reciting the refuge formula in the presence of several monks. Children often take refuge when 7 years old. The aim is to take refuge until their enlightenment is achieved. The child is given a refuge name. Reciting the refuge formula every day is a reminder of their commitment. Once refuge is taken, the most common commitment is not to cause harm to others or oneself. The term Dharma means universal truth and the laws of nature. By taking refuge in the Dharma, the Buddha intends to practice, study, read, and hear, to understand the Buddhist teachings formally in everyday life, finally embodying them. So third, the Buddha taught his Dharma and collected his followers until his own death. The significance and passing of the Buddha in Theravada was the Buddha had in his life attained Nibbana, or blown out the flames of ignorance, greed, hatred, and parinibhayana. The death of the Buddha was merely the death of the historical founder of Buddhism, for Theravada, who can no longer help us. Gautama remains someone we should be grateful to for showing us the way to enlightenment. His teaching and study is recorded in the Pali Canon and is what is most important errand, who probably needs to become a monk to attain enlightenment themselves. Mahayana Buddhism, in Mahayana Buddhism, parinibhayana is in fact a redundant term. The Bodhisattvas and Buddhas do indeed go through parinibhayana when they die the first time, but they continue to be reborn again and again in order to help other sentient beings. Even though they do not go through the process of parinibhayana, parting with previous karmic results, they do not aspire to remain in disembodied state of inactivity. For example, in the Mahayana tradition of Pure Land Buddhism, almost anyone can become an awakened one by the goodwill grace of Amitabha. By invoking the name of Amitabha Buddha, contemplating his qualities, visualizing him, and taking vows to be born in the Pure Land, you can enter the Pure Land purified and cleansed of your karma into a nibbanic and post-parinibhayanic state already. Sounds too good to be true. The attainment of nibbana and parinibhayana is instantaneous and concurrent at the same time. So, hopefully a fairly good grade answer. Does it, what we just read, is it a wide range of knowledge, specialist language and terminology? I would say so. Is it carefully selected and used appropriate action and sustained thought throughout? Pretty much. Is it knowledge and understanding addresses a broad range of key religious ideas and beliefs? Yes. And is it comprehensively developing key religious ideas, beliefs to show depth of understanding? Yes. So I'm hoping that is a level 3 answer. If not, let me know. Have a go yourself. Explore the nature and role of the Buddha with reference to Buddhist. Well, it could be one of these or all three: teachings, the Sangha, and Nibbana. Listen again.